Okay, we are alive and we are live both. And this is evening two with Lou Martin here with Poppy Sprague. Hello, Poppy Sprague.
Hello, hello. Nice to be with you.
You too, sweetheart. Thank you for being here again.
Are we going to save the world?
Why not? Somebody needs to.
Again?
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's Avengers Assemble. That's my training manual.
Yeah,
All the
exactly.
Marvel Comics universe stuff.
I'm just going to share. Who the hell are you? Who the hell am I? Should we say that?
Sure. Well, I'm someone who's had the good fortune of having some wonderful experiences that transcend time and space and my own consciousness, which I call the mystic, and that opened the door for me many times to work with spirit. And this happened in 1987 originally. And 5 years later, after studying with different teachers, including Michael Beckwith and Dr. Peebles and others, I opened to channel, and I've been channeling my guides ever since. I call them divine love and higher self, soul, and spirit. Everyone's got one. And it's a pleasure to share some of their ideas and wisdom and love and compassion. This is briefly, a moment of spiritual awakening on this planet that we've all been preparing for lifetimes. And Poppy is going to tell me about her side of the fence. Who are you, my friend?
Well, I am a psychotherapist, a coach, a psychologist. So much backstory as to why I do it, but I guess in short, it is to make myself well and help other people through the methods I've learned and the study that I've done. And like we said yesterday, collectively, in practice anyway, Lou and I have 50 years on the ground. However, I'm sure, like with any of us, when you're an empath, potentially we're all healers from the moment of the get-go of how we look at each other and talk to each other and grow and learn and model for each other. So I guess here we are to help love on us, give us more of a sense of how do we ground ourselves in what we want and come together. What was that quick what was that quote that
right So we were talking about politics and courage and speaking truth, and the quote from the American Revolution was we will all hang together, we should all hang together, or we will surely hang separately. And maybe it's Benjamin Franklin or Thomas Paine. But speaking of that, of course, I've never seen Hamilton, but it's been a sensation, particularly for young people throughout the States and the UK, throughout the English-speaking world. And when I started to learn more about Hamilton, this is just a brief side note, and then we can go anywhere. The writer Lin-Manuel Miranda is a huge fan of The West Wing. And for people from the States, The West Wing is Aaron Sorkin's 7-year-long series, which had 22 original hours of material each year. So 144 episodes or whatever that adds up to be roughly. And all original material. No one's ever written that much before or since. And this was Martin Sheen as the president, and just a fantastic cast. But really, the story was always the star. And so West Wing Weekly, there's a podcast where they relived each episode. So I just literally went through the whole 7 years again with the guys from the show, and they had the whole cast come together and do a last episode. So West Wing Weekly, Aaron Sorkin, he also wrote A Few Good Men, many other scripts. He just wrote, he did another version of To Kill a Mockingbird, which has been on Broadway. He updated that, etc. So he's great for these moral dramas. And a lot of Americans have cut their teeth on The West Wing. And so a little shout out to The West Wing, Hamilton, and there's our American revolutionaries. There we go.
All right.
All connected.
Have we got many people on with us? I can't see.
I count 5 so far.
So how about we ask people to come forward with questions if they want of any sort, to just use us for love, support, some ideas about how to, I guess, come together, be more honest about what's going on, ask for help.
Sure.
Can can you scoot over a little bit to your right? Because we can't see much of you. Oh gosh, I know why you're doing that. Okay.
Yeah, you see the problem there. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, of course, when the sun is shining in Ireland, everyone tears their clothes off and runs naked into the street because it happens brief moments during the year, basically.
Yeah.
So, yes, if I weren't talking to you, I'd be outside soaking up some vitamin D. But so we were chatting before, and this is kind of to continue the theme from yesterday. There's the political stuff, and what's happening. Why is it happening? Is it legitimate? Is it a conspiracy, false flag operation? Is the virus as bad as people say it is? Is it natural? Is it a bioweapon? When are we going to get free to be out of lockdown? What's happening with the economy? All those things none of us really knows about. We have theories and beliefs and information about it, which is helpful. But then on the other side of it, that's the fear side of things. Then coming to faith is, what can we personally do about being in this current situation? Excuse me. And how can we use our emotional and spiritual resources to help us come back to a place of peace and confidence and self-love and self-care, rather than being addicted or anxious or fearful or worried all the time?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know this from the kind of work we do of what essentially allows for us to thrive more. The psychology, where our focus is, and equally, well, that's going to affect our energy and our vibration and so on. So that's, I think, where we get to come from is, okay, there's all of this, however we want to see it, but actually, oh, we've lost Lou.
Yes.
I hope you can see me.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I can see your vibration.
Okay. Okay.
Hopefully people can see me. But my point is,
go on.
Where we're powerful is what energy we're sending out, what energy we're sending to ourselves with our thoughts and expectations and so on. And, I forget if it's 8 or 12 feet. People can feel our energy and our vibration from, far, far away. If you put a 1 in the box, if you're here, the evidence that you've had that you are affected by other people's moods and other people's vibration. And we know from brain scans that the energy of people within your field actually makes a difference in terms of what shows up for us physiologically, the energy that we're around. So what we get to do is to get together and have a focus and teach each other and have all kinds of different methods for focusing on what it is that we want: prayer, gratitude, love, whatever it is. So it seems to me that's what we can get onto is what is it I want to experience, and how can I send a bit more of that to myself and other people?
Yes, well said. Yes. So this happens on my iMac. I would have to turn the computer off and reboot it to get the camera back on at the moment. So so apologies for that. But as long as we can chat away, I think we're okay here. Is that all right?
Well, it's very symbolic, because here you are as an energy orb for us to see. So.
Yes. That's, I was just saying earlier, what would be our avatar for tonight? And I picked a dog, and gave you the cat because you thought the cat was better than the dog. Good.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, yes, I'd love to. I don't know that information about 8 to 12 feet, but it makes perfect sense to me. And this is the message from my teachers, that we've ended our connection to the third dimension as of this decade. Brand new, a few months old, the 5th month just starting today. Happy May Day, everybody. And that this is a very particularly powerful month, the month of May, because of a lot of connections to different masters. But so the 5th dimension is much more about vibration, and less about the appearance of things, and it's much more about the heart and less about the mind. Yeah. So it's living from the inside out. It's being true to our word. It's saying what we want. It's focusing on what we want. It's not speaking or focusing on things that we don't want more of too often or too deeply. And it's learning kind of a new set of skills, basically. But you're right on in terms of the focus now needs to be on being aware of the power of our intention and our vibration. My guides call it a field or a prayer field or the magnetic field of our thoughts and feelings that is like this bubble, this avatar that represents me on the screen there, that's what's around us. And so like you and I connecting, people connecting with us, etc. That's happening because we're in a similar vibration and we're being very deliberate about our vibration. That's the key these days.
Big time. And this is what helps us, is the focus is on what we can control.
Yes.
Whatever small thing, because it stacks. Whatever our attention is on stacks. One of the things that we do in my school is, what is your word of intention for the day before we do anything, is to have a focus. Because again, we end up being reactive if we don't,
that's right.
If we prime ourselves in the positive, we're responsive to what's going on. So we've had that time to kind of breathe and center so that everything that comes at us doesn't become so scary so quickly. Yeah. We have a center that we're coming from. And it seems to me that's very powerful, is to remind yourself, who am I? What do I want to put into the world? What's my intention word of today? Where are my values, etc.? And I appreciate, it can seem a bit woo-woo, but all the people that I know practice those disciplines are generally pretty secure and happy and fulfilled for the most part.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and that's brilliant. This is quantum physics, which science has been talking about since the turn of the last century.
Yes.
Since the 1900s or the 1920s, certainly, and these are all these geniuses in Europe, Einstein and Heidegger and all these other, brilliant big heads, Schrodinger, et cetera, and who proved basically over and over again, the last 100+ years, that consciousness influences what we experience, and what we perceive influences what we experience. So if we don't think something is possible, we're less likely to experience it or perceive it or see it. If we do, we're more likely to see it, etc.
Yeah. Well, we get what we look for.
Exactly.
Lou, are you able to see comments?
Yes, when I look at my page, yes.
If you do that, and I'll keep an eye too, because I'll keep an eye if you guys want to ask questions, challenge, say whatever it is you want to. It might be that you would like us to focus on something. I mean, we're pretty dynamic.
Yeah.
But equally, give us some hearts, because what we know at the moment is the more hearts we give, the more interest is in our videos. And again, like we were saying yesterday, the reason that we're here is to share what we know. We don't know everything, obviously, but we are kind of effective in people's, experiences of life.
Yeah.
So share away. That would be really useful for us. And we get to, have it as public, the page, the live.
Yes, it is. It says public on my page, by the way. It does say public.
Right.
Yeah.
Where should we go with this, do you think? Where would it be useful that our focus, where is it? Where focus goes, energy flows. What do you think? Because we could talk forever. What do you think is most useful at the moment?
Well, what comes to me, honey, is community. And that, those of us that are conscious of these things that we're talking about, and this is not new information about intention or centering or meditation or, creative visualization, all these kinds of tools, we're part of a community of like-minded people that are beginning to come together, who don't, because we trust and know these things and believe in them, we're willing to stretch the envelope. We're willing to put them into practice. We're willing to begin to lay the foundation, the template, the blueprints for living in a better, more conscious society. So that's the challenge that I want to put out to everyone who's listening here or at any time. By the way, we had like 350 hits from yesterday, which was great to see. Yeah.
I'm listening. I'm just putting a message to my crew.
Sure, that's great. So what kind of world do we want to live in? And what kind of world do we believe is possible? And I get caught up in the politics and the conspiracies and the truth and the lies and all that. And, people have, I had a friend write me a long letter saying why this was not any of my business as a spiritual person. And that's fine. I'm going to respond to him at some point. I'm sure we'll come to a greater understanding. But the point is, we have to dance with the contrast. It's just part of being human. But as light workers or, ambassadors from the future, or whatever we want to consider, our conscious, loving human beings who want to be in our power and our truth, the world, the earth is asking us to really show up as never before and really put out to the people in our lives what we're about, what we believe in, and to help to build that together, help to encourage each other to create a better world together and really take that to heart. So community to me is a big focus about this.
Yeah. What I'm aware of, and it would be interesting to hear from you guys actually in the chat, is many people feel that they can have connection online and not so much literally in their kind of peer groups on the ground, as it were, more online, which at the moment works for us because of course we're physically distancing.
Yeah.
I wonder what it is you guys need that would give you more connection. I mean, am I right in thinking that that's something that would do your heart's good, is to be in places where you can talk more, where you can be honest, where you can ask for help, where you can give help, etc.? Would that be fair? I'm keeping an eye on the comments, by the way.
Sure.
Because I'm wondering again, what is it that we're looking for right now? Because for me, if I just focus on faith, this is where I want to go, because I could, like many of us, scare myself with the reality of, going down certain rabbit holes. What is it that we get to do to be more aligned with our interests, with our passion, with our vision, to find out how do we get to be a clearer, more truthful, more loving version of us? Because essentially that's in all of us. We end up reactive and, tolerating things we don't want and so on. I'm wondering, you guys could pop in the chat along with giving lots of hearts. In an ideal world, what do you think would be good for you right now, for you guys? And maybe we can attend to some of that if you put questions, but the more we talk about what we're looking for, the more likely we are to get it.
Yeah. Well, Connie just wrote that she's feeling centered. Our friend Connie in California, she's feeling centered, but she feels rising tensions in the people around her. And the message is that people are anxious to get back to their normal life. And intuitively, the feeling to me is we're not going back. We're going forward, and this is the undiscovered country. This is the chance of a lifetime. What is the world that we personally want to inhabit? Where does that come from? What I just listened to also before we got online here tonight with each other was Greg Braden talking about the Lost Gospel of Thomas, one of the books of the Nag Hammadi library that were found in the clay jars after the end of World War II. So Thomas, in the Lost Gospel of Thomas, Jesus says, you need to imagine that, what you are asking for is already done. And you need to be in the emotion of feeling the joy and the happiness of that which you've asked for already being your truth. And, we know this, we keep hearing this, et cetera, et cetera. It's just like, people say, well, I need to be practical and realistic and these kinds of things, and that's a very subjective term. Most of us know what we mean by that, but it's the joke from Robin Williams is, I'll visit reality, but only as a tourist, which I think is a lovely, lovely line. And it's kind of that way that we're living this reality right now, and it's gotten more subjective than ever before, with greater challenges, but also greater freedom. And so, if our vibration is going up, and this is another thing science is demonstrating, that the earth is vibrating higher and higher with each passing day, generally speaking. So our thoughts are manifesting as our experiences more quickly, and not only our thoughts, of course, but our emotions. So when media is beating the drum of fear and panic and lack and struggle and chaos and confusion and illness and death, that's pretty exhausting for most people's nervous system to absorb all that. So we need to unplug from those messages and come back into peace, love, joy, appreciation, gratitude, anything and everything that feels better. And then we will see those things manifest as our experience. That's the simple way to say it.
Yeah. Abraham, Esther Hicks, I heard her say something once and it was so simple. I was like, what have I got? What she said, where she says, if you feel good, then you're focusing on what you want. And if you feel bad, then you're focusing on what you don't. So it's a case of flipping our focus, course correcting. And this is one of the things we do when we're talking about, oh gosh, law of attraction, for example, is what we want, apart from needing to take action and a lot of the stuff that we don't do generally, is we play, like, to visualize. You play like a scene of a movie, what it is that you want to see, and you imagine how you feel in that environment. So for example, I've not done this, but it's kind of a good approach actually. If I was feeling lonely or isolated or cut off, what we could do is play in our mind, quite like a scene from a film, is what does it look like and feel like to be in the place you want to be? What does it smell like, and so on? Because we're very brilliant. We can take what is it they say? We're the only creatures that can actually frighten ourselves just with a thought. So powerful. Obviously we can do the same. As you have a fantasy about collecting an Oscar or kissing Brad Pitt or whatever it is that we want to experience. We can.
Well, now you're telling all my secrets. Yes, dear.
Well, me too.
Okay.
So it seems pretty simple, but it is that simple.
Well, yes. Sorry, go on.
Well, oh gosh, I was having an anxiety attack once and I went to see Jean-Pierre de Villiers. He was my coach at the time. And I'd had this severe and enduring anxiety. I wouldn't wish it on a soul.
Yeah.
And I'd never done this before. He just said, lie down. And we just focused on breathing. Because of course I wasn't breathing because I was, and it actually, a lot of the time you can't see somebody having a panic attack because it's happening so powerfully internally. And it seems so simple that we just focused on breath and what I wanted. And the minute I came to how I'm feeling, because what I was doing was trying to avoid how I was feeling, which was making me more anxious, because of course, when feelings are on the rise, anxiety pushes it down. So, whichever way we look at it, focusing on we want, feeling what we are feeling, and equally in the same breath, holding in our minds what we do want. It may sound very prescriptive and cognitive, but ask anybody, it works. We're in this together.
Yes.
What's powerful and more powerful than any illness is what we're thinking about and what we're feeling about. And if it's fear and worry and prediction of pain and catastrophizing and so on, we get sick. Like Lou's saying, it's very attacking on our whole physiology. Is when we're in this heightened state of our adrenals are getting shot.
Yes.
So whatever we can do to be in this, okay, I'm going to go to my happy place. I highly recommend it. If I'm going to prescribe anything, it's going to be that.
Yeah, brilliant, honey. Pauline says, I feel with the lockdown, the interruption to what is perceived as normality, I've come back to my normal. I'm thoroughly enjoying the time and space and doing things I enjoy that I couldn't get into normally. There's, as you're saying it very well, there's all these paradoxes, paradox comes up over and over again in metaphysics, like in quantum physics. How can two people look at the same event and have completely contrary opinions about what it means or how what even happened? So the way my teachers have said it is, you create your own reality and you do it consciously. So like we're saying, we're being asked really on another level as consciousness to grow up very quickly. It's like our teen years are over. Now we're in our spiritual adulthood and the universe is saying, okay, you're ready for this. Here's a great big challenge. Can you, yes, we can you focus on what you want 51% of the time and feel the joy, happiness, and peace of that rather than the panic and fear 51% of the time, etc.
Yeah, and get really conscious of course correcting. When we catch ourselves, I always say celebrate when you notice you're doing something that doesn't serve you. No joke, to celebrate, to go, wow, I caught myself doing something that probably we've been doing for decades. And really, very lovingly, I'm not going there because we know where it takes
Right.
us. I had an
Right.
experience the other day and thought, I'm not going to that place. It
Yes.
doesn't
Excellent.
serve.
Yeah. That's called not
Because we
taking the
guide
bait.
ourselves.
Not taking the bait is what I call that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Move on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. I mean, honey, there's just such wisdom in that. Because reality is what we think, or how we create reality is what we think, say, do, and believe and expect, basically. And so whatever we're giving our attention to, or our words to, or our energy to, the universe is saying, oh, okay, well, I guess you want more of that, so here it is.
Yeah.
It's a discipline. Michael Beckwith, my minister in LA, says, this is a blissful discipline. It's a discipline. Learning, and Abraham as well. When how we feel about ourselves and what we're looking at is our most important measurement, not attacking, defending, criticizing, judging, figuring out all the rest of that.
Yeah. And the being mindful, like you're saying, 51% of the most dominant thought, because we bring in our most dominant thought. It's kind of like, I don't know where I heard this, the idea that if we're all sat around a table ordering food and the waiter or waitress comes and said, what would you like? And Lou says, oh, I don't know, spaghetti bolognese. And I say, well, I have the crab. No, I'll just have a cake. No, let me have, I don't know, some wine. And
Sure.
then, the waiter comes and gives all of you guys your meal. And I'm like, what about me? And
Right.
they said, well, you didn't, hello? It was all conflicting. You didn't make your mind up. You didn't order, actually. So you get natural.
That's right. That's a great point. Yeah. And, a lot of that confusion is unconscious, is the thing, I mean, we talk about programming and reprogramming. I'm listening to Joseph Murphy's book about the subconscious mind, and I'm listening to, I mentioned The Right Use of Will, and it's we think our thoughts are private and confidential, and to some degree they are, but of course, energetically, our life is reflecting what we're thinking about, what we're saying, what we're expecting, the way we're treating ourselves and each other all the time. And in this new age of the fifth dimension and beyond, it's going to get more obvious. It's going to get more apparent that that's true.
Yeah.
Which is a great gift to manifest our dreams and our desires. It's like, oh, all those self-critical thoughts are not helping me. Okay, then let me let them go. Or all those worries about being cheated or being lied to or being taken advantage of, not helping me overly, let me let them go,
Yeah. And I'm going to quote Tony, of course, Robbins, loss, less, never, thinking. He says, the source of all suffering when we focus on loss, less, or never. And again, it's about the dominance, the most dominant thought, the most dominant energy, because regardless as to kind of cultural, what would that be, gestures,
Yes.
for Italians, and different ways that culturally we move, the
Right.
energy we can feel. I mean, if you disagree, pop it in the chat.
Right.
That we feel people's energy more than what they say, more than their voice. Is this expression on their face, how they move their body, whether or not they're facing you or facing, we pick up that stuff immediately within seconds.
Sure.
And when we're walking around and there's anxiety, I come back sometimes from walking the dog and my shoulders are up here and I'm like, hang on a minute, what happened? Is to really hang on, let's meet the world with the power pose. Amy Gundy, if you've not seen it on TED Talk, phenomenal TED Talk where she talks about power pose, where you get to put your hands on your hips like Superwoman or Superman, and how that shift in physiology changes your state of mind. It's epic. The research around it in terms of what we what opportunities we bring in and how people notice us, it's so powerful to meet the world with your heart every single day. Stick your chest out, people. There's so many methods that we can come alive in our physiology and in our mind.
Sure, that's right. Well, and yes, that's brilliant. I mean, I kneel and pray at morning and evening most days, and I stand and I face the window in the morning, first thing, and I put my arms out and send my gratitude to life, because it's just those rituals are reminders, like you're saying, they help me to remember what I want to make important in my life, and to stay connected to that. And it's these are just little gifts we can give to ourselves now that we have so much freedom. We really have all this time, a lot of people, because of everything. And so it's, and since we don't immediately know how we're going back to work, or what work looks like, or what the next 2 months or 6 months looks like, etc., it's like we said, it's really forcing us to live in the present moment. And, that's through meditation, through prayer, through getting centered, through focusing on what we want. And again, Michael Beck would say to us, imagine what it feels like to have everything you want in your life, everything working, your relationship, your health, money in the bank, etc. Take 30 seconds, a minute to feel that every day. And just from Patricia Cota Robles, one of my favorite teachers, she's saying that especially this month of May is going to be extraordinarily important in terms of manifesting what we want. Very, very, very powerful. So it's good to do these things. There's John Mayharg from Ireland, who's now in Nova Scotia, I think. Hi, John. Nice to see you here. And Helen Watton, what did you say? Oh, TED Talk, Helen. TED Talk.
Yeah,
TED.
Amy Gundy, blonde lady. It's extraordinary, the research she's done. I want to just pick up, Lou, on the point that you made that I think is so important, which is we ain't going back, people.
No.
And it's important that we know that is, and that's a wonderful thing, because all kinds of things come out of this. Again, everything for our greatest growth and expansion, and discomfort needs to come before growth. That's the point. We don't change until something's damn uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it seems to me a setup. It reminds me, if this is useful, when my little brother was born, I had this little mouse. Was it mouse? Rabbit. Little sort of ceramic thing in my pocket here. Yeah. And the day my brother was born, its head broke off. And Mum said that I was crying like this. I want it back the way it was. And she said symbolically, she heard that as, I want to be the only kid, thanks. I don't want this little baby thing here. Mm-hmm. And that's the point of evolution. I mean, we're in such an evolution right now.
Yes.
Where it's not going to help us to long for and yearn for how it used to be. It's never coming back. This is the point. We get to evolve from it. And as resistant as we might be, it's just the way it is. And we get to roll with the punches here.
Sure.
Equally, though, and I have to say this, in times of change and pressure and challenge like this, we've got to focus on our spiritual needs, growth and contribution. Yes. And I'll just say this because it's important. I'm in a group, I don't know how I ended up there, in Facebook, and there's 100,000 people in there.
Wow.
And somebody wrote, and I don't know how I saw it. It was meant to be. And it said, do you know a cure for anxiety and depression? And I looked at it, and within 6 minutes, there was 1,000. Within 6 minutes, there was 1,000 comments.
Brilliant.
Which it was beautiful that people, confronted it, came right up. And of course, I was fascinated. So I scrolled through the comments, and people were saying these beautiful things, practical things. Prayer was a major one.
Okay.
Moving your body, a lot of disciplines, which are phenomenal. However, what I know about disciplines is, repetition's the mother of all skill and so on. It takes a long time to change it, to embed a habit like that.
Yeah.
Longer than 21 days. That's a fallacy, by the way. However, in terms of long-term change, what I found on there was a lot of people saying, please see a doctor, please see a psychiatrist, and so on. And what I said is, before we start to do that, the majority of depressions and anxiety is existential crisis that we've talked about before. There's a very good reason why we're in shock and fear and overwhelm and feeling angry and suppressing it and so on. So in a time like this, please spread the word. It's so important that what we need to do, regardless as to the fact we feel awful or fearful, and believe me, if you know me, I've been there big time. We must grow and expand, which is learning new things, which is getting outside of our comfort zone and giving in some kind of a way, raising your head, even if you're feeling terrible, looking at somebody, getting their gaze, contributing a little bit of something, going live, telling us your story. Without those two things being met, spiritual needs, you're going to be in so much pain and overwhelm. And we don't need to do it when we know. So out of the 1,000 people, you know, because I've been doing it long enough, what I said is, yes, there is a cure for this stuff. Absolutely. Get around people and have an understanding that this is an internal situation that we get to look at. How am I meeting my needs? And equally, what am I doing with my emotion? What's the messages with my emotion? Because the majority of depression in my mind, and then I'll move on, is anger turned inward, pain turned inward. I mean, you talk about it beautifully about men and women and what we give ourselves permission to feel. But before any of us, in a time of crisis of existence, please, before you take it personally and worry, there are millions, billions of people who are struggling and overwhelmed, and it's not personal. It gets to be something about evolving and coming out of it, which is without ego and judgment and so on. It's much more of an expanding thing, and we're all going through it together. You're not alone.
Sure. No, that's right. I mean, that is community, isn't it? And it's brilliant. You found such a huge gathering of conscious people. Caroline says, guys, the virus, this global shift, I believe it's a reflection of the 80% of negativity in the world, but the beautiful power of the 20% of love, demonstrating the power of love. Yeah, I'd agree with that. That's beautiful, Caroline.
Me too.
Yeah. She's such a dear soul, our friend Caroline. And Brene Brown, we were talking about normal. Brene Brown, who we all adore, she says, we will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal, other than we normalized greed, inequality, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. Isn't that gorgeous?
Nice.
Yeah. So go on.
Well, what Caroline says is so powerful and so representative of what's going on and how I knew this. Well, as a therapist, you know, I've trained in so many disciplines, and the majority of how we're taught is when a patient or a client is with you is, you know, welcome, what brings you, or how can I help, or what's the problem? And it was only when I went into coaching and coaching training, the question is different. And I think this talks to Caroline, what you're saying. The question is, what do you want? Because we are addicted to talking about what we don't want. We're addicted to our problems. We truly, madly, deeply are utterly self-involved with what we don't want, what we've lost, what we'll never have, all of that stuff. So Caroline, I think what you're talking to, at least my interpretation is, that's often where we're coming from, is what do we not want? That's the 80% and probably more than that. Where this is what we get to do, is to teach each other, what do we want actually? Because a lot of us are having experiences that we don't want. So we get to, again, what is it that I'm wanting? How do I want to feel? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Let's have a positive fantasy rather than a rumination about, my God, this is going terribly wrong. So when, Caroline, you say that, we get to teach people, we get to share the video, we get to give ourselves hearts and loves and ego stroke to say, what is it I want? And I get to focus on it, because we get what we focus on in a big way. And believe me, I know that. Sure.
That's right. And of course, we have to believe that what we want is possible. And we have to keep, being aware of what it is. You know, we're the background. This is the way my guides put it. The background is what you don't want. This is the fear, the lack, the loss, the threat, the danger, whatever. Okay, that's the background. So then, to create something meaningful and useful and of help to yourself and others, find out what it is that you do want, or be open to saying, I don't know what the solution to this is, but I know there are solutions to every problem. And I know the universe is based on creating solutions. And I am a solutions magnet. I am an abundance magnet. I am a health and healing magnet. I am an inspiration magnet. Whatever we tell ourselves, that is the script that the universe is responding to. And then when we can attain, sustain, and maintain those good feelings more powerfully than the fears, the distractions of the negative feelings, then we are raising our vibration. And as we manifest what we're asking for, what we're focused on, what we're imagining, what we're expecting, as that becomes our experience, then we really do begin to be the light of the world. Then people see there is a choice to make and that we can consciously make this choice. I'm aware of what the background is. I'm aware of what the situation is, but I'm not losing myself in it. I'm not throwing myself into this drama. I'm stepping back from it. I'm staying centered in truth, is the way we put it at Agape. And I'm knowing that there is a solution to this, and I'm part of creating the solution of this.
Yeah. Yeah. If we're course correct, if we're shifting our focus consistently, that, I'm a magnet for miracles. I forget who said that.
Yeah.
But if we think about it, if you truly think about it, anything is possible here. And always, many people I've met, I don't believe in miracles. And I'm like, what? Look at a bumblebee. Look at our mobile phone. Look at the way that, we've got eyebrows and we breathe on our own when we're sleeping. I mean, how do you not believe in miracles? Anything can change. And if we think about it, I mean, I imagine all of you guys put a 10 in the box if there has been a time where something just turned on a dime. It just from nowhere just shifted, did a 360 on something, or a 180 or whatever you say.
Yes.
Anything is possible at this juncture, and particularly now. And on the 1st of May, I mean, what a perfect day to be doing this. My sister-in-law was saying, I love your view. This is the day with which there's a very, very fine film between the universe and what's going on, with people having a human experience kind of stuff, that we are so permeable in terms of magic and miracles and universal energy, or God, or however you want to look at it. But our focus needs to be on what we want and sending love and sending prayer and the outcome that we want, rather than who's oppressing us, who's doing wrong, who's whatever.
Sure. Well, you said it. That's right. You said that if we're sitting in the restaurant and we can't make up our mind, then the universe can't bring us anything because we didn't put an order into the kitchen and they don't know what to bring us. So, and I love what you're saying here. What my guides say, when you co-create with spirit, what you've asked for comes out of the blue in the way you least expect it, better than you've imagined possible, by revealing your true nature. And so a miracle is just our willingness to accept that things can be radically better than what the consensus reality believes is possible. And when people are in life-threatening illness, or they're, whatever the situation is, there's story after story and experience after experience where the impossible happens. So the thing is, the presence of a positive is more powerful than the absence of the negative. This is Abraham, in the hot seat. She says, well, what do you want? Well, I don't want what I do have now. Well, what would it be like to have what you want? Well, it wouldn't feel as bad as it feels now. So it's like, okay, look, folks, just like ordering from the kitchen, you've got to decide something that's going to put a smile on your face that you can believe is possible. So, okay, the whole world's not going to go back to the way it was before, but all of us can make an agreement here as a conscious community that we are going to continue to be safe, loved, and supported, and we are going to continue to manifest opportunities, resources, and relationships that empower us and help us to empower each other. Okay, and take a breath on that. And that is done. That's a prayer right there. Okay, whatever we agree on that is aligned to the greater good for all, including ourselves, the universe immediately rushes to put that at the front of the queue and begin to manifest that. So what you were saying before, just the last thought here, what you were saying before, honey, about depression and anxiety and 1,000 people responding, and a lot of their response was prayer, is this is not just a planetary healing crisis. It is that. We're looking at our health, We're looking at our economic structure. We're looking at how we treat each other. We're looking at the poorest and the wealthiest of society and the way we use our resources. All of that is under a microscope right now, and our thoughts and hopes about the future. All of that is total focus. The second part of that is got to be a spiritual component, as you said before, which everyone gets to decide what that means to them. It's not about God and religion and a man in a long white beard unless that's comfortable for you. It's about anything that is comfortable for you. Honestly, I've told this story many times. For me, in my life, John Lennon was my Jesus. Yeah. When I grew up with the Beatles cartoons, Hard Day's Night, Help, Yellow Submarine, that was my childhood. And these guys were like my best friends, and their music, just lit my path. So following their life story, particularly John's story, for his first 40 years until he died, that was such an inspiration. His story was such a huge inspiration to me. So it's finding, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, finding anyone that inspires you, anyone that you go, God, I'd like to be more like that person. I'd like to be whatever. And whether they're alive or not, that doesn't matter. Like you're saying, and your friend here, the veil is getting thinner between humanity and spirit. And, spirit is not full of goblins and demons and darkness. That's our own projections and the lower vibrations that we're just trying to move out of right now, that we are moving out of. And so we can manifest miracles. We can create a life of joy and meaning. We can deepen our connection to spirit personally, but we have to believe that that's possible. And the last point is, people say, oh, I'm asking. Fantastic that you're asking, but you don't forget to give thanks, because every prayer begins with humility and ends in gratitude. If you haven't said thank you, you haven't asked in the way that spirit can respond to you.
Yeah, and what I understand from studying metaphysics and all of that wonderful, incredible stuff is no, the prayer isn't asking. That the universe will give us
the answer. It's knowing the answer. It's knowing what the answer is and what it feels like.
Yeah, and it seems to me like even more wonderful than that even. But if life will give us what we ask. So if we say, I want, the universe will say back to us, I want, meaning, okay, what are you giving? If I want to be recognized. Okay, how are you recognizing yourself and the people?
That's right.
So if we hear prayer as, could you give me this? And I want more of that, and so on. It's about giving to other people, being for other people the thing that you would like to see, the thing that you would like to experience. If we want something, we get to ask ourselves, who do I need to be to get that thing? And give it away.
Sure.
That, anybody I know who feels very, fulfilled and successful and happy and so on, their life is about giving away what it is they have without masochism and, I need to give to people for a sense of self-worth. None of that is a great focus on. This is what I want to see globally. This is what I want to feel globally, etc. But we get to do our part. What is that? I never remember in the Bible. God, oh, help.
Well,
do something and God will give you something. It's always in my mind, and then when I come to quote it, it goes. A lot of you guys will know, but basically, do your part, and you'll be met with it. But if you ask and ask and ask, the universe is going to say, "Well, give it to me," because that's all we're saying. It's just reflecting back what we're doing.
Right. No, I take your point. The Course in Miracles says you teach what you need to learn, and giving and receiving are the same thing. And so when you say a prayer and you include everyone in your prayer, which is what we just did, then you're not dividing and taking away. You're adding unto, and you're including everyone. And when you're giving thanks, you're saying life is good, and I deserve, and everyone deserves, and life is for everyone. So it's really, the word I'm looking for is blessing. Like, you're a blessing to people when you show up and you do your lives and you share your story and you offer tools, etc. I get to be a blessing if I give someone an idea or an inspiration or remind them of something that they are asking about inside themselves that lights them up, and they go, oh yeah, it's so simple. And so it is, everything is a choice between love and fear. Fear is always about our being obsessed about our own self in in exchange for our relationship to others. Love is always about wanting to include others, wanting to share with others, wanting to empower and uplift others. When we do that, of course, we're blessed as well. Absolutely. Yeah, so to be of service, that's a great point. To be of service is really part of the future of this planet, because the past, like Brene Brown is just saying here, we've seen such breathtaking, unbelievable, bottomless corruption, greed, and a manipulation of resources, of the earth, of women, of children, just shocking, horrifying stuff. We don't have to get lost in it, but we want, this is what the indigenous cultures call the time of purification.
Yeah.
Where we're being stripped bare, where we're coming back to the core of who and what we really are, so we can know who we really are. So we don't see ourselves as just a money-making machine or whatever. And like you're saying, our value comes from helping each other, supporting each other, blessing each other, inspiring each other. That's the greatest joy that life can offer, is when others can receive the gifts that we have to share and they appreciate it.
Yeah. And what comes with that is getting uncomfortable. And this is plenty of people, it's a funny thing, I even said it recently, is that comfortable? And no, this is not the planet to be comfortable. It needs to be uncomfortable so we can grow. And I can't press the point enough. Lou knows I've been desperately depressed many times. If we're not growing, getting uncomfortable, expanding,
right,
and if we're not giving, and we can do both, when you grow, you give, basically, we're really in trouble. So please, if you're in a place going, I'm not comfortable with that, which we're not, that's okay. Do it anyway, because we have to grow. We have to evolve. Otherwise, we're in a lot of trouble. So we can take seriously the fact that we're hurting or angry or suffering or whatever. Absolutely. We don't need to minimize or pacify that. We've had enough of that.
Sure.
To love on yourself whilst you say, what small thing can I do to grow, to get uncomfortable here? And what small thing can I give, however small? We have to do that.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant. That's wonderful, honey. I support that 100%. That's beautifully said. I did a post today, how we do these posts and then you see who responds, 2 people, 100 people, and you go, oh, okay, well, that struck a nerve. And so the one that I'm speaking to today was basically a message about being kind to ourselves. And, to me, this is 100% what I'm most interested in the work with people is, so an outer circumstance gets our attention and we feel powerless in the face of it. That's a way to describe this crisis. Like it's huge, it's overwhelming, and we feel very powerless in the face of it. All right, so it throws us back into ourselves. Then if we made mistakes in the past, or we whatever we did, and we feel like it's made the situation happen or made it worse, then people tend to beat up on themselves, right? All right, you and I have learned, and we're singing from the same choir sheet here, that we want to say, what is the gift in this, folks? What is the opportunity in this? What is the blessing in this and the lesson in this that is called this into our experience, that our soul's growth, our spirit's adventure said, yes, this will help you drop the disguise, drop the mask, and be your authentic, true, messy, beautiful spiritual self. And so the being kind to ourselves, that's one thing I wanted to say here. And the last thing is that everyone tends to play small and meek and weak. And oh, I can't this, and I'm no good at that, and I that's nonsense. We have these great gifts inside of us that the Almighty Creator of the universe, in my opinion, dropped in our laps, and what we do with them, particularly in times of great change and challenge like this can redefine your life. This can be the best moment of your life right now. What happens from here can be the turning point in being more free to love yourself and be yourself, and to love and be with others, than anything that's ever occurred. That's my prayer for this time for all of us.
Yeah. And recognizing a worthy opponent, as they say.
Well, look in the mirror, I guess,
Well, absolutely.
We're either our best friend or our own worst enemy, as we're saying here, right?
Absolutely. What does they say? The mind, attentive servant, or
well, yeah. Yes,
whatever. Clearly, my mind's working
you're
beautifully.
okay. Sweetheart. The mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master.
Thank you.
Somebody else, you're welcome. And my guides say the heart knows what the mind struggles to believe and understand. And
Yeah.
so the last thing is, if the I think there's the shift from living from the outside in, which is people, places, things, and situations determine our worth and our self-worth in relationship to those things, or living from the inside out, which is what the mystics, the geniuses, the John Lennons of the world, they decided this is who I'm going to be in this environment, and they committed to that. And that's the freedom. That's the freedom. No one can take your power from you. You can only give it away, and no one will give you your freedom. You have to take it because it's yours.
Yeah, this is what I say, that truly I realized one day it's the hardest part of my job, and it will forever be the hardest part of my job, which is to tell people what I had to learn. Nobody is coming.
Right. Except you. If you're good to yourself, like you're learning, and being good to ourselves is sharing ourselves with each other and opening up our hearts to each other, and realizing we're all absolutely having the same hopes and fears and struggles and dreams and all the rest of it. And why don't we just get very real with ourselves about that and get on with things?
Yeah.
Find out.
Why don't we just all get along?
Yes, well, see, the thing is, like we're saying about the enemy is in the mirror. It is, as we have learned to make peace with ourselves, darling, then we have a place of peace to offer our friends on the path here. But where we're still hiding or running or fearing or denying or controlling, then we're afraid of meeting that part of us in other people or in the world. And so at this point, it really is humanity. You have come to the end of one story and the beginning of a new story. What is it going to be? How good can you stand it? How good can you allow it to be?
Yeah. And do we like ourselves on the journey is the kind of question. Often we're craving after what it is that we want. So much of this is we can ask ourselves, do I like myself in the process of evolving like this?
Well, yeah, and this is where we need, that's a great question. And this is where we need compassion and kindness and forgiveness.
Yeah.
And acceptance. And we need to listen to people like Eckhart Tolle and Brene Brown and Neil Donald Walsh and Marianne Williamson and everyone who's been on this path. And they will all tell you it's a messy, sloppy, ugly process. But like you're saying, darling, it doesn't happen till you step outside of your comfort zone. If you know all the answers, you're not looking in the right area. When you're completely flummoxed, now you're starting to play the game. When you have no idea what the answer is, then you bring your inner resources to it. And I just want to say also, so in healing and in creating a safe and loving space for ourselves, when we meditate, when we pray, when we come to peace, we're taking our power back. We're centering ourselves in the truth. We're allowing ourselves to be available for the answers, which the whole world is searching for, which is so important right now. And we're open to anything. And that is brilliant, So that's the answers are going to come from within, not from without. No. We need to hold that space. That's what the universe is asking us to do right now. And this month of May is going to be phenomenally powerful to help us to do that. There's going to be a lot of breakthroughs.
Yeah. We get to just take care of ourselves, just go that little bit extra to take care and do the kinds of things that maybe we've forgotten to do, or maybe we tolerate, or maybe our standard is a bit lower. We get to love on ourselves, even if it's just catching how we're talking to ourselves. But truly, nothing happens from a place of comfort that is about growth. And I guess, if we talk about tomorrow, Lou, that we're still looking for people if they want to join, if you want to join us for a half-day workshop tomorrow afternoon, English time.
Yes.
Which means you guys Pacific and so on, you could meet with us if you want to. Which for me, I mean, there's so much magic in the workshop, is taking a deeper dive into the unconscious, and which is simply what is out of awareness drives action. What we do behaviorally is dictated to by what we're not seeing, the things in the shadow, the things that we push away, the things that we don't acknowledge in ourselves, things we project onto other people, the kinds of reasons why we get annoyed with other people and other people's behavior and values and so on. We can't change things long term until we look at what's driving our behavior. So just thinking and praying with the greatest love
Yes.
isn't enough.
It isn't.
We
You're
get
right.
to really connect with what is really known within us. Everything we've ever touched, tasted, felt, any of that. And the cleaner we make that so that we can hear it, see it, acknowledge it, the cleaner our connection is to our higher self, whatever it is, because we've actually created room to hear something.
Yes.
So
yes.
please, if you're interested, getting uncomfortable, that means financially because you pay for it. That means time-wise, dedicating, devoting some time tomorrow if you'd like to join us. We've got to get uncomfortable in order for stuff to change. If it's too easy, we don't change.
Right. No, that's well said. And I second that. Poppy and I would love to work with people who really want to, move through these self-doubts and self-judgments and fears and pain and resistance and all of that. But understand it's a joy. There is nothing more fun than healing. We have given our power away, my friends, and the universe is asking us to be honest with ourselves and kind and loving and caring, and for Poppy and me, yes, exactly, that's the word, to hold a space with everyone and just help people make peace with what has been and be able to let it go and really step into an authentically true and new moment where it's not comfortable, but it's exciting. That's where aliveness happens,
Absolutely.
Yes. That's where love happens. We don't fall in love with people if we're asleep on our pillow. We got to get out and be in the world and risk something and share something in order to find what's in other people's hearts. So that's the challenge Poppy and I are offering to you all. Tomorrow afternoon, 3 to 6, we'd love to have you. The link will be here. And you can see we're just all stirred up about doing this great work because it's time. And frankly, I'll tell you, boys and girls, if you don't do it now, you're going to look at it another month and another month and another month. And this work is going to keep coming to you. How can I be free of my doubts and fears about my worth? And, the last thing is spirit, whatever we say about it or believe about it, to my experience, it is perfect peace and unconditional love. And how we come to perfect peace is through forgiveness. And as you've said beautifully, my friend, how we come to unconditional love is by loving others. And when we can love ourselves and others equally, then we know what freedom is like. Yeah.
It's always there. It's just a case of when we get to be able to be present to it. And that's obviously a personal choice and everything in its rightful time. But it's always here. And you know that because there would have been extraordinary, weird and wonderful experiences that you've had. And that, in my view, is spirit, is love, is whatever it, there's something greater than us. And as my brother said, when I was a little kid, I was looking up at the stars and I said, Sam, because he's an intellectualizer, and I said, Sam, do you think there are other things up in the universe? And he shocked me to hell. He said, of course, Poppy, I do think there are other things in the universe. We would be very naive to think otherwise.
Right.
And I looked at him and I was like, he's so cognitive. If Sam says, oh my God, there's all this. So we get to know that it's there when we're ready to embrace it.
Sure. Yes, sweetheart. And that was beautiful. And the universe is inside of all of us. My guides say that your heart is the center of the universe. Yeah. And there you go. And when you look within and find that love and that peace and that acceptance and that mystery and that respect and all of that, then you do begin again. You do change your mind. You do heal your life. And that's what the planet is asking us to do, is to step into these roles of leadership and not wait for anyone else to give us permission, but just seize the day, as we used to say in the 60s, seize the day and say, this is what I'm going to do about what I'm experiencing now. I think it's going to help and I'm going to give it my best effort and be surprised. That's the other thing. Spirit will always shock you to your core because there are no secrets.
Nuh-uh. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice to be with you.
You too, honey. Thank you. I've been taking my clothes off and running around my room with the camera off. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. Whatever makes you happy.
Thank you for carrying on despite my lack of visible presence here. I
Well,
appreciate
as I say, I mean, it's just it couldn't get more symbolic. It's just fantastic. Here's Lou, the wizard of all kinds of magic and miracles. There as an orb with a psychologist sitting next to it. I mean, it doesn't get better than that in my world.
Thank you. Thank you. Blessings. So we'll leave it there, folks. And if you have any questions about the workshop, please text either one of us. We'll be thrilled to have you and answer any questions about it. Thank you so much. Yeah?
Yeah. Big
Peace,
love.
peace and blessings. We're out of here.